everybody is upset. Bill Gates owns all this land. So I thought, well, how much does Bill Gates own? I'm going to look it up. One, Bill Gates isn't even in the top 25. Okay. He barely cracks the top 50. Mr. Bill Gates. I don't like this man. Don't like anything about him, but he's number 42, 275,000 acres. I hate to give him any kind of explanation at all because I just don't like the guy. But I think we're giving Mr. Gates a little more power than what he needs. He already thinks he's kind of a big deal. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. All right, today let's talk about who owns all the land in the U.S. I did a little research maybe a week ago, and I did share this on the TikTok, but I thought it would be good to share here as well. And I found some interesting information, so I want to share it with you. Okay, but before I get started, I've asked Doug Ferguson from Mr. Cattle Master. He does sell-by marketing courses for people that want to buy and sell cattle correctly. And he is going to hold one in Bismarck in March. So if you are looking at not wanting to drive all the way to Nebraska and you want to come to Bismarck, I am super excited because I have wanted to attend a class forever. And I just don't ever have time to go down to Nebraska. So he's coming to me. What a lovely man. Super excited about that. Okay, so let's talk about who owns all of this land in the U.S. Because everybody is, upset. Bill Gates owns all this land. So I thought, well, how much does Bill Gates own? I'm going to look it up on the Google machine. So I looked it up, and there's a couple things that are interesting here. One, Bill Gates isn't even in the top 25. Okay. He barely cracks the top 50. So it's not him that owns the majority of the land. It is others. But when you research it, there are all these websites that tally up everybody's land. But guess what? They start with the biggest landowners as people or corporations. You know what they don't give you? How much the government owns and how much the Native Americans own. They don't tell you that. That just so happened to come up on I was searching and I just so happened to see it. What's interesting about that is I knew that. I knew that they owned a lot of ground, but it never crossed my mind because I was thinking people. Who owns the majority as people? I wasn't thinking about the government and the Native Americans. So let's start with, number one, they say is people, but let's just start with who really owns the most ground. And that is the U.S. government. And they own 650 million acres. Now, the only reason that this is worth talking about is because the government likes to just take land, right? Eminent domain type situations. And so they just like to take ground and they don't really care. So should we really be mad at people that are buying ground? Or should we be more irritated with the government buying ground or taking ground? Okay, and then you have Native American tribes who own 56 million acres. Okay, then let's get down to the people who own the majority. So number one, and I am going to show you guys pictures of these people. So if you are not watching on the Spotify or the YouTube, then you're not going to see this. But the Emerson family, they own Sierra Pacific Industries. Apparently, this is a company that has a lot of timber products. I don't know Sierra Pacific. I'm assuming that you know what? Maybe I do know them. My windows are Sierra Pacific windows in my house. And they own a lumber company. Yeah, California, Oregon, and Washington. So that is who number one is. And they own 2.4 million acres of ground. Okay. And then number two is John Malone. And he is a family land preservation company. And he owns 2.2 million acres of ground. And then you have number 3. Number 3 is Mr. Ted Turner. Mr. Ted Turner, nobody really complains about a lot. And from my comments on social media, it seems like everybody is okay with him except the people that he owns ground near. Everybody thinks he's a good steward of the ground, except the people in Montana. Specifically, somebody commented and said, yeah, those of us in Montana don't like him. He owns 2 million acres of ground. Okay. So that's a lot. That's a lot. But it's funny because we don't hear about these people. And then Mr. Stan Kroenke, I don't know who he is. He has a Rams cap on. So does he own the Rams or something? I don't know. If you guys know me, you know I hate sports and I think that's pointless. 1.7 million acres of ground. And then as I was doing this research, I thought, you know what's super interesting? Because I know that the Mormon church owns a lot of ground, but that's interesting that they didn't make this list. And so I just Googled that as well. And interestingly enough, the Mormon church also owns 1.7 million of ground. And it's under the Farmland Reserve. That's the entity that it's under. I had a couple comments on that as well on the social medias about the LDS church versus the whatever. People I don't know. It just said on Google, the Mormon church, the LDS Mormon church owns 1.7 million. So they're like tied for number 4. Interesting. Nobody talks about them either. We just talk about Mr. Bill Gates. And then the Reed family comes in number 5 at 1.6 million. Okay. And then we got some other people. Number 10 is King Ranch in Texas. And King Ranch owns 911,000 acres. And they're at number 10. So really, number 1 is like 2 million. And number 10, we're already at, less than 1 million. But I found this interesting. Jeff Bezos comes in at number 25, and nobody's really complaining about Mr. Bezos either. And he owns 420,000 acres. And then you have Mr. Bill Gates. I don't like this man. Nope, don't like anything about him, but he's number 42, 275,000 acres. Now, if you really think about it, I hate to give him any kind of explanation at all because I just don't like the guy. But 275,000 acres compared to 2.4 million, I think we're giving Mr. Gates a little more power than what he needs. He already thinks he's kind of a big deal. But then I kept looking down the list. And number 48 was Taylor Sheridan, Mr. Yellowstone himself. And I thought that was pretty interesting because he's basically right in line with Gates. He's not that far behind. And nobody's saying anything about Taylor yet. I mean, this could be newly acquired land because I did hear that he bought the 666 ranch, the Sixes Ranch, the 666, whatever. He bought the ranch. And so this could be newly acquired land for him to where people don't really have anything to complain about. And then I kept digging. And the Kennedy Memorial Foundation, Kennedy with 1 N, they are come in at number 58, and they own 235,000 acres of land, and they're all about Catholic education and Catholicism. And so that is their big mission, and they own 235,000 acres. And then the Kennedy family, which I assume would be JFK, I did not do the research on that, they own 219,000. And then the McDonald family, who I would assume would be Ronald McDonald, but who knows? McDonald family owns 163,000 and they come in at 96. So really, we all have a reason to not like Gates. And he's made himself very popular with all of his agendas. And now, I don't know if he's tied in with this CO2 pipeline or not, but oh my God, let's not get Mary Jo on that subject today. I did watch Yellowstone last night, and I'm sure their getting rid of pipeline was interesting. He's made a lot of waves politically, where everybody else has kind of stayed in their own lane. They haven't really said anything. We don't complain about them. But he's really small potatoes when we look at it. So my thought is if he's that minute in the scope of things, then why even give him the power? I did read something that said that he doesn't even know what he's investing in because his investors do it for him. So maybe he does not know. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because this was like the top 100 and all of this information came from landgate.com. And I didn't even see Robert Kiyosaki on there. And I know that Robert Kiyosaki talked about buying farm ground and then he said something about selling it. So I don't know if he still has it or not. But very interesting to me that, yes, he's in the top 100, but he's at the bottom of the totem pole, the bottom. Then we should be asking the people at the top, guessing like the Emerson family who owns Sierra Pacific, are they really good at generational wealth? Have they passed that off correctly? How long has that been in the family? I'm going to assume that because it is basically a paper lumber type company, that they have been around for multiple generations and they've had some great generational wealth. They've had some great practices. They've done some great estate planning. And so I don't know that to be a fact, but if some of these people are doing really good estate planning and they're building upon building upon building, can we really be angry with them because they're land hogs? So think of your neighbor that's farming 10 or 15,000 acres. He's really, big to you, but somebody that's farming 30,000 acres, 400,000 is big to them. So you have to put it into perspective. But there you go. That is who owns the majority of the ground in the US. And it is the government. But so conveniently, we skip over the government. So conveniently. And they own 650 million acres. When you look at the Native American tribes, that's 56 million acres. That is peanuts as well when you compare it to. So there you go. Some talking points for you to have at your next Christmas party for your family. Instead of talking about the big neighbor next door and beating up on him, well, now you can beat up on these guys. All right. You guys let me know if you need anything else. Otherwise, you go get the book at farmingwithoutthebank.com. Get your bundle. That Christmas special is going to end soon. So get it while you can. Even if you don't have the books for Christmas, you're still going to want to get it. And then make your appointment with me so we know if we can help. Otherwise, how are you going to know? All right, you guys, you have a fantastic Christmas, and I will talk to you in the next podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.